Hello everyone and happy Tuesday. I'm back with another video about what I'm working on for the 2026 Bucket List Challenge. And as promised last week, I've got a couple of things to share with you, though I'm going to focus most on calligraphy this week. We are still getting ourselves unburied from the snowstorm that happened here in DC about a week ago, and I mean, my car is still completely encased. Well, not completely, mostly encased in ice. So I have hardly left this apartment in a week now, and I am going a little stir crazy. But I've had two things to keep me busy. One has been practicing calligraphy in this little practice book. And then the other has been rereading a series I loved as a kid. As you know, if you're familiar with my bucket list challenge, those are two items on the list for 2026. And the series that I have been rereading is, sorry if you hear my cat meowing. The series I've been rereading is the Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce. Or Tamora Pierce. I actually don't know how to say her name. One moment while I let the cat out. Okay, so like I was saying, I have been rereading Tamora Pierce's Song of the Lioness Quartet. I read these books when I was maybe about 11, and they were so important to me as a kid. And I'm going to have a lot more to say about them next week. I'm still 3/4 of the way through the series. Over the past, I'd say 10 days, I have read the first 3 books, and I've just got the last one to go, but it is the longest. But anyway, it's a fantasy series about a young woman who trains to become a knight and has adventures. I'm going to save most of my thoughts for next week when I have finished rereading the series, but it has been such a pleasure to revisit these books and these characters and this world. So, yeah, highly recommend that if that's something you want to do this year. I absolutely encourage you, reread those books that you loved as a kid. It's so much fun to revisit them as an adult. But the focus of today's video is, as I said, calligraphy. So I have tried calligraphy before, so I'm not a complete beginner, but I'm really out of practice, and I never achieved a level of proficiency where I would want to, charge money for calligraphy or even really share it that much with other people. So my goal with this item, the bucket list is pretty vague, pretty open to interpretation. The item just says, I think it just says like try doing calligraphy. So I guess technically I've already fulfilled that just by using this practice book, but I'd really like to reach a level of skill where I would actually share my calligraphy with someone else. And I'm not really sure how I want to do that. Initially, my idea was to try making something for Valentine's Day for my husband, like a handmade card that I would write the message in calligraphy. But I don't think that I'm going to reach that level that quickly. I mean, Valentine's Day is just 2 weeks away now. But I wanted to share the kind of what I'm using with you. So this is my pen. This is an offset pen holder or nib holder made of wood. And Paul gave this to me, I want to say like a year ago or so, maybe 2 years ago. And the reason why it's offset like this is just, this style of pen makes it easier to see what you're doing as you're writing. If you use just a plain old pen nib holder, you might find that your hand gets in the way, particularly if you're a lefty. I am not a lefty, but nevertheless, I prefer using these offset holders. And then I've got a kind of flexible pointed nib here. So I do dip this into ink, and the ink that I bought is just very basic. It's Winsor & Newton's black calligraphy ink. I also bought it in red. They've got two shades of red. They've got crimson and scarlet, and I got crimson, which is a little bit deeper, kind of more towards the burgundy area. I haven't used that yet. I bought that one with the intention, like I said, of doing something for Valentine's Day. Probably won't use it for that, but I have another color if I get bored with black. But I've just been using the black for practice. And I think it's a pretty good ink. Like, I tried thinning it out a little, and that actually made it harder to work with. So I think the consistency is pretty good. And because the offset holder doesn't allow the nib to actually be dipped into this bottle, I have kind of a makeshift inkwell. It's this tiny little cup. I don't really know what these are called or what they're really supposed to be used for. Maybe they are meant to be little inkwells. This is just something that my husband has in his art supply cabinet. My husband is a professional artist, so he has a lot of art supplies, and he keeps these little cups specifically for dipping pens or brushes in ink. They probably are just intended to be little inkwells, but they're just like plastic. And I think you can get these at any art supply store. And then, like I said, I got this from Amazon. It is a calligraphy tracing book for beginners with traceable letters, which makes it sound like it's all tracing. But there's a lot of pages that are, I don't know if you can see, mostly blank. And in fact, towards the back, they're completely blank. But the ones I've been using do include traceable letters. But here, for example, is a page with L's on it, and you can just see there's like faint letters for you to trace. Like last night I did this page full of I's, both uppercase and lowercase, majuscule and minuscule. I will say I'm not completely fond of this book because ink really bleeds through the paper. So this is the back side of some pages that I've already filled in, and as you see, the ink bleeds through really badly. It also just feathers very badly. I don't know how well you can see this, but yeah, it just doesn't create really nice, crisp, clear lines like you kind of want for calligraphy. But at the end of the day, it's just a practice book, so I am going to use it until it's full, because it's helpful for just getting a feel for how the letters should be shaped. Just kind of getting that muscle memory, basically. What I'd like to do, though, is eventually purchase some kind of practice book that has better paper in it, a little bit more high quality paper, ideally with the guidelines already there so I don't have to draw those. But I will invest in a nicer practice book eventually. Let me know if you have any ideas for what I should make, because like I said, I want to make something using calligraphy, not just practice. I want to maybe join like a pen pal group that does Happy Mail. I don't know if you've heard of Happy Mail, but it's like, people send each other beautiful letters and cards and stuff, just to make them happy. It's this really sweet idea. And then, other ideas are like invitations to a party Another item on the bucket list is to host an outdoor party. So maybe later this year I could send invitations to a party done in, calligraphy, but that seems so formal. Who sends invitations to parties now, right? I feel like in our day and age, it's much more just send an email or a text or something and say, come over this weekend for whatever. But it might be a treat for people to get a real invitation on paper in the mail. So I'll think about it. A card or something like that. I love the idea of creating like a journal of menus. I don't know. I love to cook, and I like the idea of creating not really a recipe journal, but a menu journal, like what we ate on such and such special occasion. I know that seems kind of weird and random, but it's just an idea that appeals to me of a menu journal. And I think that would be a nice place to showcase calligraphy. But again, that would be kind of just a personal, private thing and not shared with anyone. So I don't know. I'm still really debating what I want to do with this skill that I'm trying to learn. But overall, I would recommend it to anyone who has an interest in typography, or who has always gotten compliments on their handwriting. Like I always have, people have always said that I have beautiful handwriting, and I have a steady hand. It doesn't shake or wobble. So if that's you too, then calligraphy might be a creative hobby that you might want to take up. And I don't know, I like the idea of it as a sort of lost art, like how people used to have beautiful handwriting. Like everybody who could write, of course, used to have beautiful handwriting, I feel like. And that's just gone these days. So to me, it just has this kind of, I don't know, old world, lost art feel to it that I think is very romantic. And in general, I think it is a great hobby for those who want to cultivate mindfulness. It's sort of like coloring. If you enjoy adult coloring books, calligraphy has kind of a similar vibe. Like you can do it while watching TV, or at least listening to TV or a podcast or something. And it's just a really nice, mindful way to keep your hands busy and to make something beautiful and to hold your attention in the present moment. It has that mindfulness quality. It's very calming, very peaceful, unless you screw up, of course. But yeah, it's a really relaxing hobby. So if you like things like that, like knitting or crocheting or coloring or whatever, calligraphy might be a great option for something to do in your free time. So I'm enjoying it. I think I'll enjoy it even more once I have some nicer paper to work with, and once I have more clarity about what kind of project I might like to create. But for the time being, I'm enjoying just learning and trying to become better at it, trying to make my letters look like the printed ones. And yeah, just enjoying, relaxing, and listening to something while I also try and create something pretty. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I have to say about calligraphy for the time being. I will check in with you next week, of course, and have so much more to say about the Song of the Lioness Quartet. I have a lot of thoughts on these books, y'all. I had no idea how hard the nostalgia feels would hit me upon rereading these books that were so important to me when I was a tween. But I will talk to you more about that next week. Do check out below all the details about my 2026 bucket list challenge if the idea intrigues you. All it is a public bucket list that anyone and everyone can draw inspiration from, and, pick and choose what items on the list make sense to you to try this year for fun or for education or for your own personal growth or whatever. yeah, I'm going through as many of them as I can and documenting my progress on this channel. So I'd love to have you join me. If you want to, please just leave me a comment down below. And also, if you know what you're doing with calligraphy, or if you have any recommendations for tools or paper that I should use, please leave me a comment also about that. And anything else you're doing for your 2026 goals, or if you are joining my bucket list challenge, please let me know what you are working on. I would love to hear about it. And that is all for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and stay warm and stay healthy and safe and happy. Edgar, you are the worst. You are the absolute worst. Anyway, that is all for this week, folks, and I will talk to you next week. And have a great week until then. Bye.